Hi, I hope you're doing well today. In today's lecture, we're going to talk about Python variables, Python's print function, what are functions and methods and the difference between them, and we're going to go through some examples of working with strings. Let's start with variables. A variable is a container that stores objects. To store an object into a variable, we use the equal operator. Over here, we have 5 objects. We're going to store each of them into a separate variable. For the string, we're going to store it in variable A, the integer in variable B, the floats in variable C, the boolean in D, and the none objects in E. Let's go through some important notes about variables. Number 1, we will always be storing objects into variables before performing operations on them. To show you what I mean, I'm going to delete variable A and variable D and E. We are going to multiply variable B and C and store the results in variable D. Let's visualize execution to see how the code runs. Executing line 1, 10 is in variable B, line 2, 10.1 in variable C, and line 3, the result of their multiplication in variable D. The second important note is a reminder that Python is case sensitive. Let's look at this example over here. Uppercase A stores integer 20 and lowercase a stores integer 10. Although to us, these two variables are the same, they're both A, they're the same letter, they are different in the eyes of Python. One is uppercase and one is lowercase. Important note number 3, objects stored in variables can be replaced. If we replace a variable more than once, it will only contain the last object that it was replaced with. Let's go through this code to show you what I mean. If we execute line 1, we'll see integer 10 in variable A. If we execute line 2, we'll see that integer 10 is replaced with integer 20. Executing line 3, 20 is replaced by 30. Executing line 4, 30 is replaced by string Michael Scott. So notice in this code, we keep replacing the object that's stored in variable A. And in the end, variable A only contains the last object that it was replaced with, Michael Scott. Adding to this point, one variable can be replaced by another variable and will inherit what it contains. Let's look at this example. Integer 10 is stored in variable A, the string Michael Scott is stored in variable B, and in line 3, variable A is replaced with variable B. Since the string Michael Scott is in variable B, and in line 3, variable A is replaced with variable B, the string Michael Scott is now in variable A. Further adding to this point, we can replace a variable with the result of its mathematical operation with another variable. This is used a lot in programming because it allows us to reuse variables instead of constantly needing to create new ones. Let's look at this example. Integer 10 is stored in variable A, 2 in B, and in line 3, A is multiplied with B and the result is stored back into A. Let's pay attention to variable A in global frame. If I run line 3, you'll notice that it now contains the results of 10 times 2, which is 20. Important note number 4, variable names cannot have spaces. For example, this variable name would not work. Notice that there is a space between the and number and 10. If we need a variable name that comprises of multiple words, we can add underscores between each word, something like this. Let me show you what happens if we have spaces in a variable name. In this variable, there is a space between A and new, and a space between new and variable. Let's visualize execution and see what happens. An error popped up. Error, scroll down to see error message near the visualize execution button. Let's scroll down and here it is. When you get an error message, it's important to look at each line carefully. In the first line, it's telling us that the error came from line 1. In the second and third line, it's highlighting which specific part of line 1 caused the error. Notice these arrowheads. They're pointing at the part that's causing the error. And in the last line, it's telling us what error it is. Syntax error, invalid syntax. To fix this error, we're going to add an underscore between each word. And let's visualize execution again. And the error disappeared. Important note number 5. Variable names can contain but cannot start with numbers. Let's look at these two examples. In the upper one, we have two variables, 1a and 2a. These two variables are problematic because they start with numbers. Python will not accept them. In the lower example, we also have two variables, a1 and a2. Although they contain numbers, they don't start with them. They start with letters, so they're okay. Important note number 6. Variable names cannot contain special characters. And by special characters, we're talking about colons, semicolons, question marks, stuff like that. We haven't gone through any functions thus far, but we're about to learn the print function. Just remember that variable names cannot be the same as function names. Moving on, let's talk about the print function. The print function essentially shows us what a variable contains. I'm about to show you an example of running the print function. But before I do that, let's go through how to run a function. There are 3 steps. Step 1 is to spell out the function's name. Step 2 is to input round brackets like these. And step 3 is to input the object to run the function on in the round brackets. Let's run the print function for example 1 of today. Back on Python Tutor, I'm first going to create a variable a, and I'm going to store the string hello world in variable a. Next, we are going to run the print function on the string hello world. To do that, we are first going to spell out the print function and input round brackets. And within the round brackets, we are going to input the variable that hello world is stored in, variable a. And that's it. Let's visualize execution. Let's execute the first line. And in global frame, we can see the string hello world in variable a. Now let's execute the second line. If we look at the print output tab over here, we can see the string hello world displayed. Essentially, what happened in line 2 is, when Python Tutor executed the print function, it printed what's inside variable a. And since the string hello world is in variable a, it printed hello world. And notice that the hello world that's printed over here doesn't include the double quotation marks that are a part of the string. Essentially, when we run the print function on a string, it doesn't display the quotation marks when it's printing. The print function is often used to see what a variable contains so that we can fix problems in our code. Those problems are called bugs. The process of fixing those bugs is called debugging. The print function has upsides and downsides, so you need to be very careful where you use it. Its upsides are, it allows you to see where you made mistakes and allows you to see the results of your calculations. Since we're working with a lot of math in this course, the second upside is very important. The downsides are, if you're executing a lot of print functions, it will slow down Python's execution of your code dramatically. This can be a very big problem when you're working with fast data. The other downside is, if you print a lot of objects, you'll have so much information displayed that you won't know where to look to fix the problem. Moving on, let's talk about what a function really is and how it relates to methods. A function is a block of code that performs a specific task, while a method is a function that belongs to an object. You can think of both functions and methods as tools to perform an action in Python. The difference between them is a function is a tool that exists on its own, while a method is a tool that belongs to an object. An analogy of a function is the camera on your phone. The camera on your phone can be used by any app that requires a camera. For example, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. These apps may need access to your camera to take photos and videos. However, although these apps may gain access to it, they don't have exclusive control over it. And think of a method as the Meta AI feature from Meta. Meta AI is a tool that can only be used by apps produced by Meta. For example, Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. It belongs to Meta, and apps by Meta have exclusive control over it. Not only are they conceptually different, there's a difference in how we run them. Recall, to run a function, there are 3 steps. To run a method, there are 4. Step 1, we reference the object that the method belongs to. Step 2, we input a full stop. Step 3, we spell the name of the method. And step 4, we input round brackets. I'm gonna visualize that difference for you in example 2. But before we do that, we need to learn 2 methods of strings, lower and upper. The lower method converts all letters in a string to lowercase, while the upper method does the opposite. It converts all letters to uppercase. Let's work on example 2. Back on Python Tutor, we're going to convert all letters in this string hello world to lowercase by running the lower method. Before we run it, let's first create a new variable to store the result in. We're going to use variable b. Now let's conduct the 4 steps of running a method. Step 1 is to reference the object that the method belongs to. The string hello world is stored in variable a. To run its method, we simply reference variable a. The next step is to input a full stop. Following that is to spell the name of the method, lower. And lastly is to input round brackets. Let's visualize execution to see what happens. Executing line 1, hello world is stored in variable a. Executing line 2, the lower method is executed. It converts all letters in the string to lowercase and stores the result in variable b. Next, let's run the upper method. We're going to edit this code. We're going to store the result of the upper method in variable c. To run the upper method, we conduct the 4 steps again. Reference the object, full stop, spell the name of the method, and round brackets. Let's visualize execution. We're going to skip to line 2. And in line 3, we execute the upper method, which converts all letters in the string to uppercase and stores the result in variable c. Now, we've ran 2 methods of strings. To show you the difference between running methods and functions, we're going to run the print function on variable b and c. Let's edit this code. And let's run the print function on variable b. To do that, we are going to spell print, input round brackets, and within the round brackets, we input variable b. Following this, we are going to print variable c as well. Just to highlight again, when we run a method, we reference the object that the method belongs to, input a full stop, spell out the name of the method, and input round brackets. Whereas when we run a function, we spell out the name of the function, input round brackets, and input the object that we want to run the function on in the round brackets. Moving on, we can combine strings using the plus operator. This is used a lot in debugging because each debug message typically requires inputs from multiple sources. Let's see how we can combine strings in example 3. Let's say that in our debug message, we want to print the current price of NVIDIA. I'm gonna delete all this. And for the string in variable a, it's going to be NVIDIA's current price is. Let's add a colon and a $sign. I'm going to create another variable that stores the current price of NVIDIA. Let's say that it is 100. And I'll create variable c that is going to be the combination of variable a and b. Finally, let's print variable c. Let's visualize execution. Executing line 1, the string NVIDIA's current price is stored in variable a. Line 2, 100 is in variable b. And in line 3, they are combined and stored in variable c. Executing line 4, the combined string is displayed in the print output tab. Before we end today's lecture, let's look at what we learned today. We learned that variables are containers that store objects. We use the equal operator to store an object into a variable. Objects stored in variables can be replaced, and we can replace a variable with the result of its mathematical operation with another variable to reuse variables. We also learned that variable names cannot have spaces, they cannot start with numbers, cannot contain special characters, and cannot be the same as function names. The print function is very useful for debugging, but be careful, if you use it too much, it will slow down Python dramatically. Functions and methods are tools to perform actions. A function is a tool that exists on its own, while a method is a tool that belongs to an object. The way to run a function is different from a method. The lower method of strings is used to convert its letters to lowercase, and the upper method does the opposite. To combine strings, we use the plus operator. In tomorrow's lecture, we're going to go through what an indicator is and an example of how debugging is done using the print function and strings. And that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic day ahead, and I'll see you tomorrow.